Let's preview the San Francisco Giants for 2026 up next on Fantasy Baseball Today. Welcome to On the Beat, our mini team preview series here at Fantasy Baseball Today. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by John Shea, baseball writer at the San Francisco Standard, sfstandard.com. Make sure to give him a follow on X at John Shea Hay. And let's just start off with the San Francisco Giants offseason. They kicked things off by surprising some, bringing in Tony Vitello as their manager. They brought in some pitchers to help with the rotation, Tyler Mahle and Adrian Hauser. They recently signed Harrison Bader to a 2-year deal. Also just brought in Luis Arraez on a 1-year deal. It has been a solid offseason. I still think they need some help in the bullpen, but what are your thoughts on where the Giants stand right now?
Well, it's a great question, Frank, because the fans are kind of calling out for more, but they never spent more than $12 million on any individual addition. They took passes on guys like Kyle Tucker, Edwin Diaz, both of whom went to the Dodgers, and Bellinger, and all these big names kind of came and went. Framber Valdez still out there. And boy, would he look good in this rotation with Logan Webb and Robbie Ray up top there, and fill it out any way you want. But this is a 500 team the last few years, 500-ish. And after Buster Posey spent big on Willie Adames last year and then traded for Rafi Devers in June, fans, I think, were ready for another big spending explosion, which never came. So I think they're going to be under the luxury tax threshold for the CBA, unless they make a big deal with Framber Valdez, but nobody's really expecting that. So I think it's a team that might go 500 again, or else surprise a lot of people, because it's the first full season with Rafi Devers and Willie Adames. Started slowly last year, new contract, new team, new coach, new everything. And he struggled offensively and defensively, but he really finished nicely and hit the 30 home runs, first guy to do that in San Francisco since Bond. So I think there's room for an uptick, but fans are a little hesitant. We'll see.
I think the lineup as is right now, I mean, it's a pretty complete lineup top to bottom. They do have some depth in it. The rotation, they've made some peripheral signings there. Again, we'll talk about the bullpen in just a second there. Someone who could help out their lineup quite a bit is Bryce Eldridge, their top prospect. He has a ton of raw power, strikes out quite a bit. What are your expectations for Bryce Eldridge this upcoming season?
The sky's the limit for this young dude. I really like him a lot. Big, tall, powerful guy. And if you look at the numbers in general, say, well, he came up in September, didn't hit well. Well, if you look at the exit velo, he hit very well. I mean, he took everyone to the warning track. He took everyone to the wall. And there's some nice catches out there. With a little more luck and a little more wind, his numbers would be a lot better. But I really like him to make a big splash this year. Now, the question is, will the front office believe enough in him to open the season with him? They like you said, they got Arraez, who played a lot of first base in San Diego last year, and could DH if Eldridge is sent down, and then Devers would play first, and then they could go that route. But I'd love to see him opening day, because he's his career is such a promising track. He hit well everywhere. He showed power everywhere. His exit velo, I think, was the highest in all the minor leagues last year. And this front office could have traded him. They had a bunch of holes. They had holes in the rotation, in the bullpen. They needed a lot of pitching, and they couldn't get everybody. They couldn't fill all the spots through free agency. So he would have been a great prime ticket to trade, to get some frontline pitching in here. Ultimately, the Giants are saying no on that. They invited him to the first of 3 fan fests a couple of weeks ago. So I said, okay, I guess he's here to stay. And good for the team and good for him, because he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch in batting practice. And he learned first base. In high school, it's kind of funky. His coach never played him at a position. He was either a DH or he was a pitcher. And then he didn't play college ball. It went straight to the pro ball, and then they stuck him out in right field, and that was kind of disastrous. So the last couple of years been teaching him first base. Ron Washington is the new infield coach. He'll be great, with the Rise. He'll be great with Devers. He'll be great with Eldridge. Now, Eldridge, I imagine, will play little first base, mostly DH. Eldridge would be mostly at DH with Devers around. But Devers wants to be off his feet a couple times a week. So in a perfect world, Eldridge could get some reps at first base as well.
You mentioned the exit velocities. It was only 10 games with the Giants. I know he only hit around 100, but 95.6 average EV. Down in the minors at AAA last year, 95.7. So that is something Eldridge does really well. He hits the ball extremely hard. I know typically Oracle Park, bad place for left-handed power, but I mean, this guy has power that kind of transcends ballpark, so it should be just fine, assuming he makes enough contact this season. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball. Today we're here previewing the San Francisco Giants with John Shea, and let's take a look at their bullpen here. We're always trying to figure out for fantasy who's the closer on each team. We are always chasing saves. Right now, it kind of feels like Ryan Walker might be the incumbent just because he started last season as the closer. I guess he kind of ended the season as the closer, but it really wasn't a great season for him. So what do you think of the bullpen? Do you think Ryan Walker is the closer for now for the Giants?
You tell me. No, the Giants say for now he is the closer. Until further notice, he will be the closer. There really isn't anybody else. I mean, they traded Camilo Doval. They traded Tyler Rogers. Randy Rodriguez, who would have been the closer, had surgery that is going to leave him out till 2027. So we won't see any of those guys. So it falls on Ryan Walker, who had a wonderful year 2 years ago. He closed some games. He was a setup guy, wonderful ERA. But then last year was hit and miss and a whole lot of miss. He lost his job, came back to it after the deadline trades, and he just never seemed to be the guy to consistently close the door. Again, this was a 500 team, so how many chances were there? But I think he's real tough on righties with that crossover motion, and the way he delivers is pretty deceptive. And he has experience in the role, unless they trade a Casey Schmidt or one of these young pitchers for a young closer, then he's the guy. I mean, Yoel Peguero was real fun to watch. He's in his late 20s. He finally burst onto the scenes in the majors last season. He has potential, but for the most part, they didn't do a whole lot with their bullpen for the second straight year. They added a couple of guys, one a lefty, one who won't be ready till midseason. So it's not as if this is Henkes and Foley. It's not as if they're real deep in the bullpen. So he's the guy by default for now.
Let's talk about a sleeper for the Giants this season. Who do you have there?
It's a good question. It's a roster full of sleepers, but I'll go with Casey Schmidt because here's a guy who was supposed to be the everyday second baseman. They liked him that much, but then they got a rise. And I spoke with Schmidt at the end of the last season, and he said he was going, and he had wrist surgery, so he kind of slowed his progress. But he did talk about wanting to improve his range as a second baseman. You remember, he came out of San Diego State as a third baseman, a wonderful arm. He closed in college, and his best spot is third base. He was projected as maybe a Gold Glove third baseman in the major league. Well, Matt Chapman showed up, and that was the end of that experiment. They moved him to short. They moved him to second. They played him at first last season. So he's been all over the infield. And he has potential to be a very valuable utility man. Now, he could get a lot more plate appearances, a lot more games, a lot more reps if Eldridge does not start at the big league level, because maybe he gets some reps at second base when Arise is the DH. So unless Casey Schmidt is traded, I think he'll get a lot of time, and it's time for him to really step up, because he struggled with the swing and miss. He struggled with a lot of things, but there's nothing to say negative about his defense. He's improving his range, like he told me, at second base, and he's got the arm for third. He's got the arm for short. And he looked really good at first base, going over there for the first time in his life, just borrowing a first baseman's mitt and hanging tough. So, I think he might be the guy.
Yeah, definitely a deep name to pay attention to there, Casey Schmidt. He showed off a little bit of power last year, too, 12 home runs in 95 games. So someone maybe in NL-only leagues, if something happens to Arise, or if Bryce Eldridge doesn't make the team, maybe Eldridge struggles and he gets sent down to work on some things. I think Schmidt could work his way in there as well. What about a breakout for the Giants this season?
Well, I talked about the young pitching, and they've got all kinds of guys. They've got Birdsong, they've got McDonald, they traded Kaiwei Tang, they have Tidwell, Wisenhunt, Seymour, probably forgetting some guys, but they added some mid-range to back of the rotation guys in Adrian Hauser and Tyler Mahle, to go with Landon Roop, and at the top, like I said, Webb and Ray. They used 15 starters last year. So where's their depth? So I'm picking Hayden Birdsong, a guy who was very effective out of the bullpen at the start of last year, forced into the rotation, looked good at the start, but then just couldn't find the plate. And he was lost mentally, emotionally. He was still dealing 96, 4-pitch mix. And I think he's got his act together. Spoke with him at the Fan Fest a couple of weeks ago out here in the Bay Area. And he seems to be all there. He seems to have the desire and the drive. And he's got the 4 pitches to be a top-line starter. And I think if somebody goes down or somebody needs a break, I think Birdsong is the first man up in terms of that rotation. Now, he's a big, tall right-hander, and he's like an ultimate starting pitcher in the big leagues. But it's a matter of at 24, is it his time? And I believe it is. I saw him a lot last year. I saw him very good. I saw him very bad. But he's just got too much stuff and too much power and too much dedication at this point to fail, in my mind, again like he did last year. So I think he's the guy that I would lean on to be the number 6 starter to break camp. Unless there's someone hurt, then I think he would be the guy to break camp in the rotation.
Yeah, I think that's a real sneaky call as well. As good as Tyler Mahle was last year with the Rangers, he has dealt with a lot of injuries in his career. So if something happens in the rotation, Hayden Birdsong, someone that could potentially step up, he's got filthy stuff. I mean, he gets a bunch of whiffs on his pitches, but over 5 walks per 9 in his career, he has to be able to throw strikes. So that's really where we need to see Hayden Birdsong take a step this season. Big thanks to John Shea, baseball writer at the San Francisco Standard, sfstandard.com. Make sure to give him a follow on X at John Shea Hay. And for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to our On the Beat team preview series, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.